way. A few other quick housekeeping. If you like what you're hearing tonight, I encourage you to please tweet me rather, at Ann Miami. Please like our Facebook page, which is Speak Out Inc. Recommend us on LinkedIn, and be sure and tell your friends about today and next month's webinar, which is What's in Your Nonprofit Elevator Pitch. We'd love to have you join us for that as well. Now I'm going to ask you to think about why you came to the webinar and what your purpose is and what you want to take away from the time we're going to be spending together. It's really important because this is the same process that you go through when you put your elevator pitch. Who are you? What does somebody else want to know about you? And what do you want to accomplish by putting the time and energy into having a really good elevator pitch? So you might want to make a little note of why you came and what you would like to take away from this workshop. This is not my elevator pitch, but a little bit about me. I used to be a newspaper reporter in another life, and I was very shy. I went into journalism because I was curious, and it was the only profession where you really got paid to ask questions. So I overcame my shyness. I became a professional speechwriter, presentation coach, doing workshops, creating programs on networking, on team building, on presentation skills for a variety of companies over the years. Some of the major companies I've worked with include IBM, Disney, Western Union, and .co. I've worked with business owners, community leaders, and also with many nonprofit organizations and government agencies. And I would love the chance to work with you as well. I am a consummate networker. I love being out there meeting with people, and I'm the immediate past president of the National Association of Women Business Owners, the Miami chapter, and I'm active in the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce and other organizations as well. And I encourage you, if you are not out there networking, to think about where could you be, where could you go, especially with the holiday season coming up. There are lots of opportunities for you to be out there becoming better known and broadening your own circle. And it's kind of fun. You get to eat new things, you get to meet new people, and add calories in a different way. So let's go forward. So what are we going to do today together? We are going to look at what an elevator pitch is and what it isn't, and how it can help you go forward in your life, in your professional life, in your career, and in your nonprofit organizations. The ones that you encourage, the ones you help, the ones where you may be serving as a volunteer or on the board. I'm going to help you get ready for some great networking in the holiday season ahead and throughout 2015. By helping you develop an elevator pitch that you could be proud of, that you could feel really good going out to deliver when you're in those critical face-to-face situations. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what's next. How can you use this to advance yourself as a leader in the community, in your business, and wherever else it's important to you. I've been networking for more than 3 decades. And I found that there are 4 types of networkers that you're likely to encounter. And as I do this, I want you to think about who are you and who have you encountered lately and who do you expect to encounter out there. Now the first type is the shark. Now this isn't exactly like Shark Tank, but the behavior is similar. These are the folks who grab a hold of your arm and don't let go until you give them your business card, your firstborn, your phone number, a commitment for a coffee or a drink. They're very tenacious, very direct, in your face. Now sometimes you may be the shark, right? You see somebody at a networker, you've been trying to reach them on the phone, and all of a sudden you're going to bull dive right in and go find them. So this is the first type of networker. The second type goes like this. Now you might not hear them, but they're thinking ba ba ba. These are the folks who think everybody else is a snob or too important, and you don't have a chance to meet anybody there. I myself have felt like a sheep sometimes, walking into an entire room full of suits and saying to myself, why am I here? What's this all about? The third type of networker is what we call the social butterfly. They go like this, they flit around the room, and they look you in the eye very intently for 10 or 15 seconds, make you feel extremely important, gorgeous, and then they flitter off to talk to somebody else that they think might be a better prospect, might be better looking, whatever. And you wind up feeling a little bit deflated. Now, we do take turns being the shark, being the social butterfly, being the sheep. But it's the fourth type of networker to which I encourage you to aspire. And that's part of what we're all about today. And that's for you to become what I call the engaging, articulate octopus. This is the person who says, George, I know you love to play golf. I want you to come meet Sam over here who golfs all the time, including when he's supposed to be at work. I think you guys will have a lot in common. Or Susan, I understand you're really into underwater basket weaving, and Jane over here has this fabulous collection of baskets that she's assembled from her scuba diving days. Why don't you get together? Let me introduce you. Now, you may have more serious or better business purposes to connect people, but the engaging articulate octopus as a networker is the one that most of us want to be around and that I want you to become. And you can do that with a really good elevator pitch and the other skills we'll be talking about tonight. So what is networking anyway? Networking is any conversation that advances your agenda, whether it's for your business, for your community activities, or even something personal that you have, without actually selling anything to anyone. You want to think about why you are going to a networker and what you really want to accomplish. As I said earlier, who do you want to meet and why do you want to meet someone at the networker? And you want to think these things through before you actually go. Why? It will influence the kind of elevator pitch that you put together for yourself. Now, I have found that there are different goals for networking, but they usually fall into one of these two categories. You're out there because you want to expand your business connections. And that can look very different from one business or profession to another. But the bottom line is you're going to meet people, you're going to get their card, and these are people that you can begin to develop a relationship with. The other is that you may be representing a nonprofit organization and you've got a big event coming up or program or you're trying to get votes. There's a reason that you're out in the community promoting, and this may be part of what your objective is. Think about what your elevator pitch's goal is. And now we're going to do a poll, and there are a couple of questions that you'll see on the screen and in the poll, and I'm going to ask you to take just a few seconds and answer the poll. Okay? Just a few more seconds till we have the poll.
Yeah, people are still filling it out.
They're still filling it out. That's good. And let me qualify this. There's no right answer or wrong answer to any of the poll questions that I'm asking you tonight. This is just for us to get a sense of how you regard yourself as a networker and your elevator pitch. Okay, good.
Okay, I just closed it up. And the results are we have 27% to meet prospective clients and 73% to expand my circle of contacts.
So you see, some people have a very blatant agenda, and that's perfectly okay, and the rest of you are a little bit more magnanimous. You're out there to meet whoever. But I know if you dug a little deeper and you're honest with yourself, you may have even more specific goals for yourself. But this is great. Thank you. We had nobody who wanted to meet a romantic partner or other, George? No? Okay. That is the reason why some people are out networking, as you know. Okay. Now, some of us dread going to networkers. We say to ourselves, oh my God, I just can't go to another one. What am I going to do? How do you get yourself excited about going to something? Some people are just really happy to go. Part of it is tied into your reason. Why are you going? And when you think about that you could meet somebody that could open up a tremendous door for you, or that would become a big supporter for your nonprofit, or that could become a potential client, it does get easier to fire yourself up. Part of the reason we're apprehensive about how we're coming across is because the reality is there's so many people trying to get other people's attention. We are bombarded by messages. Learning research says that between 1,500 and 2,000 messages a day we're being hit with that we don't even realize, from the internet, from radio, from television, from phone, from billboards, and only a handful actually penetrate our consciousness. You want your elevator pitch to be one of those. You want people to really hear it, don't you? And it's the same thing, by the way, when you're doing a speech or a presentation. But today we're focusing specifically on your elevator pitch. You have so much you want to tell people, and the reality is their attention span is really small, and plus their time restraints are real. Elevator pitch comes, as you may know, from New York. The term comes from New York and Chicago and other big cities with skyscrapers, where advertising execs and corporate folks would get into an elevator and suddenly spot somebody they've been trying to get a meeting with for days, and all of a sudden they're there. Well, you only have the time from going up and down that elevator to be able to get that person's attention and get a commitment of some kind, whether it's for coffee, for an appointment, something that you can connect with that person in a very limited time. And that term, elevator pitch, has spilled over into other networking situations as well. Now, what is an elevator pitch? What is it not? It is not a chance for you to sell me anything, because I really don't want to hear that at a cocktail party or a holiday party, do I? You don't really want to be sold in that environment, do you? It isn't a chance for you to knock the competition and tell why you're so much better than anyone else. And most importantly, it is not your resume, and it is not the time to read from your brochure. I was at a networker the other night, and there were a couple of accountants in the room, and I love accountants. Some of my best friends are accountants. But they stood up and they said, hello, I'm so-and-so, I'm a CPA. We do tax returns. We file your sales tax information. We take care of your payroll. And they went on and on about all the things they do. Well, with all due respect, who doesn't know what an accountant does? So you don't want to be guilty of the same thing reading from your brochure as part of your elevator pitch. What a good elevator pitch does is make me want to talk to you more, plain and simple. It's the beginning of a new relationship. It starts a conversation that can lead to a meeting or some kind of really important follow-up opportunity, but it's just the beginning of that process. Alan Monroe was an industrial psychologist in the 1920s. And he said there are 4 questions going on in the mind of the person we're talking to when we're trying to persuade them. The first question, as you see, is, why should I listen to you? The second question is, what's in it for me to listen to you? What's in it for you if I listen to you? And the fourth question, a modern day variation, is the following. My daughter, who is no longer a teenager, still does this, still says these 3 words to me when I'm going on and on about something. She'll say to me, and as I repeat them aloud for you, she'll say, Mom, nobody cares. Alan Monroe in 1920 said, who cares? And sadly, that's what's going on in people's mind. They may be polite, they won't say anything to you. And you may not even be able to read it in their body language. But if you go on and your elevator pitch isn't well honed and isn't focused on the other person, you're going to lose them. any speech or presentation has 4 basic parts. You want to start out with an opening where you grab people's attention. You want a little mini overview of what's to come, known as the pre-body. You have a format. There are a number of formats for the content itself, and you have a close. An elevator pitch is a very condensed version, but it does have these parts. So now I'm going to spend just a few seconds helping you understand how to put the content of your message together. First of all, you want to be able to identify what are the benefit words, what are the problem words, and we're going to spend a little time. I'm going to give you a whole collection that you can choose from in just a minute or two. But you want to figure out what is it that you really could do for someone else. And then the hard part, how do you decide what's the most important to say? What are they going to really care about? You want to devise an intriguing opening that gets them to go, wow, she or he may really be worthwhile talking to. You want to be able to describe your position and the organization you represent, and you've got to have some kind of closing in mind. When you're doing this the first time, it's okay to just write. You may have 200 words, and then you're going to cut it down to 100 words, and ideally, the end result is cutting it down to 50 or 60 words because that's about 30 seconds. And it's critical to practice it aloud because it can look good on paper and sound terrible when you go to do it. Now here are some of those words that I promised you, and I've got several slides with several sets of words, so don't panic if you don't see any in the first one. But these are words that you might use in your elevator pitch because you're going to make something happen for me. You're going to improve some aspect of my business or my life. You're going to solve a problem for me. You're going to help my health improve, for example. Here are some more, and I'm encouraging you to write down, you're going to save me money. Write down any of the words that you see here on the screen, and I have some more coming up. You're going to help me create less stress. You're going to help me build wealth. You're going to give me peace of mind. You're going to help me have higher profits. What is it that you're doing when you're with your business, with your profession, in your position that is going to help me? Now here are some indirect rewards, which are also reasons people may pay attention. You're going to help somebody become more popular. You're going to get them the recognition that they deserve. You're going to make them feel as though they belong to something. Borrow, take, plagiarize any of the words that I'm sharing with you because you're going to want to use them in your elevator pitch. Now there's a completely different track that we're going on right now, and we call these the pain words or the problem words. And I want you to think about your role as a problem solver. So you might say to someone, are you frustrated with the way you look? Are you angry about the treatment you keep getting when you go to the dentist? Are you disappointed with the way that healthcare is being managed today? How can you use some of the words that you see on the screen here and incorporate them into your elevator pitch? Now you might feel a little awkward using some of these words. Isn't it kind of negative, people ask me? And the reality is we pay attention often, not only because we're being entertained or intrigued, but because we perceive that you might be able to help me. You're a problem solver. And so if you can get that language across in your elevator pitch, when you get it across, it's another way to capture and keep attention. So if you haven't already done it, I'm encouraging you to write out a couple of these benefit words or a couple of these pain words that apply to what you and your organization could do for someone else. And then narrow it down to 2. And we're going to be using them in just a few minutes. Okay? Now, I have another poll for you. And just for our understanding, again, there's no right or wrong answer. You just might find it interesting. The question is, are you primarily using benefit words or using problem or pain words in your elevator pitch? Or are you using a combination? So let's just see what our folks on the call tonight are doing. Okay, the poll's open.
Yeah, we still have people filling it out.
Filling it out, great. Good. And
okay,
again, there's no wrong or right with this.
Okay, right now we have 64 that said benefit words, 9% said problem or pain words, and 27 said a combination.
Okay, so you just see the group is kind of divided, and again, it doesn't really matter which ones, you just want to be clear on it. Some people have, as I said, have challenge using problem or pain words. It's something that I encourage you to begin to try out in your elevator pitch because they can be very powerful for you. So let's look at what are the elements of an elevator pitch. You do want to greet everybody. You do want to have an equivalent of a hello, how you doing tonight? You don't want to just dive right into your pitch. And then you want an opening that's going to grab attention either with a benefit or a problem word. You want to make sure you mention your name, your position, your organization, and have some kind of closing planned. We're going to go more into this now, but this is an overview. By the way, I have an app that I created about 2 years ago now called Wow Pitch. You can go to it, you can find it, the easiest way is to go through my wowpitch.co website, and you can download a free version which has 36 wonderful examples. They're all pretty humorous. Or you can download the paid one, which takes you through the process that we're doing tonight in more depth with more choices of words and examples. And you can record yourself at the end and time it. It's really a cool little app. I will have it available for the Android next year, but right now it's only available for the iPhone or the iPad. Now, I've put together some samples for you of some of the elevator pitches that I use, and I do recommend that you have a short version and a longer version. Here's an example of a short one that I typically use. When people say, "Who are you? What do you do, Anne?" I say, we make sure people aren't boring when they speak, that they look confident and they come across as an expert in their field. My name is Anne Friedman and I'm CEO of SpeakOut. That's something I might do face-to-face with somebody at a networker, at a wine and cheese, where it's not appropriate for me to go much longer than that in a self-introduction. Now here are two longer examples, and these I might use at a meeting like the one I was at Monday night, where the standard routine is at the beginning, everyone who's at the meeting has a chance to stand up and introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their company, their products or services. You may go to meetings like that as well where you have this opportunity. Hi, I work with executives, business owners, and community leaders who are concerned about finding the right words when they make speeches and presentations, and who want to come across with more confidence and style, whether they're speaking to a group or one-on-one. We also help reduce the drama and increase the results in meetings of teams and organizations. My name is Anne Friedman and I'm president of SpeakOut. It's about 60 words, about 32 seconds. And that's something I might say if I had a chance. Now notice I did the opening first. That is one format where you reach out, you shake hands, and you actually do it opening before you introduce yourself. Some people are not comfortable doing this. For other people, it works really well. And then you do your company name and information. We're going to be talking about questions to ask a little bit later, but you do want to have a question ready to ask at the end of your presentation. Here's another one where I do my affiliation first. Hi, I'm Anne Friedman with SpeakOut. Our clients are executives, business owners, and community leaders. They want to create real impact and get outstanding results from their speeches and presentations whenever they speak to groups or one-on-one. We help them create the message and also develop their own speaking style to project confidence and expertise. That's another version that you might try. Notice I did the name, my name. I introduced myself first, and then I went into the opening. It's not wrong, it's not right, it's what's best for you, what you're the most comfortable with doing. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of the two methods that I recommend in your opening, whether you put this opening after you introduce yourself or at the very beginning. The first one is called the Promise to Give Us Something opening. You can have a new revenue stream and more time in your day to do what you really love, and I can help you. I might listen. I don't know about you, but that's the kind of opening. Now, here's another example of the Promise to Give Something. I can help you have more energy and reduce your stress in a totally legal, moral, and not too fattening manner. It's okay to use humor in your elevator pitch. But that's an example of the Promise to Give Something, and then you would just continue it with a little bit more detail about what your name is, what your company is, and maybe a little bit more about what your company does. So that's one of two ways you could open your elevator pitch. Here's another one. This one is called Arouse Suspense. If you're frustrated at how you get overlooked at meetings and tired of watching other people get credit for your great ideas, I can help you become the kind of leader that you want to be. And here's another variation of it. If you're concerned that your team or your company is on the wrong track and you're worried about finding the right people to go forward, we're the ones to call. We can help you. Now that might be for a personnel agency or a talent agency. So these opening techniques are the ones that I recommend. There are actually 6 ways to open a presentation, but for elevator pitches, these are the 2 that I have found that are the most effective. So again, here's the format. State the benefits or the pain, what you provide, your name, and have a close. You want to make sure it's not much more than 50 to 75 words, about 30-35 seconds. And time it when you do it so you really know. There's one more format I want to share with you. Allison Maslin, and you can find information about her at myblastoff.com, is a business coach I've been working with, and she has what she calls her 4 W's as a format for an elevator pitch. I work with business leaders and community leaders who want to come across in a really dynamic way whenever they speak every day. So this is another format. It's a simpler format, and this might work for you as well. The bottom line is for Networking 101 that you want to make sure that you introduce yourself either first or second. You reach out. That introduction needs to have benefit language or problem solving as part of it, and you want to reach out to make sure that the other person feels as though you want to talk to them as well. Now, we have a special guest tonight who has agreed to share her elevator pitch with us. And so we're going to unmute Karen and invite Karen to come on the call. So we have Karen.
Hi, Ann.
Hi, Karen. How you doing?
Great. I'm a special guest. I've never been referred to as that before.
Well, people are going to be lucky to hear from you.
Right.
Karen was gracious enough to say she would like to share her elevator pitch with us. So we're just going to imagine, ladies and gentlemen on the call, that Karen and I are at a networker, and I see her name tag, but I'm not really sure who she is, and I'll say something. The classic line is, so Karen, what do you do? And Karen's going to tell us, please.
Hi, Ann. I'm Karen Lapicus, a former IRS attorney and now your attorney against the IRS. As an IRS attorney, I put taxpayers on the witness stand. I approved levies against their bank accounts and even approved foreclosures of their homes. But now as an attorney against the IRS, I work to keep you off the witness stand, work to protect your name, your reputation, your home, and your bank account. The IRS has 1,500 attorneys on their side. Shouldn't you have one on yours?
Wow. Well, thank you, Karen. That was very powerful. Anybody that has any issues with the IRS probably would come running your way. Now, which do you used, Karen used that where she introduced herself first, right? And then you went and you actually used the intrigue version, right? You used the, what's this all about kind of version. Could you share with us how you put that speech together, that elevator speech together? What was going through your mind as you put it together?
I wanted to emphasize my experience and like my motive for why am I now attorney against the IRS, and like why am I passionate about my work, because now I know what it was like on the other side, and now I want to help people to prevent from getting in the situation that I saw every day.
And so the very end of it where Karen said, shouldn't you have someone on your side? That may seem a little salesy to some people, but in other situations, it's really an invitation for her to continue to have the conversation, because it's almost impossible for anybody to say no. You've set it up, so of course the answer is yes. And then Karen, do you have, I'm gonna put you a little bit on the spot, but do you have a question that you typically ask someone? Let's say they've already gone and they have shared their elevator pitch with you. Is there a question that you might routinely ask them after you've met somebody?
I don't ask any targeted questions. I really just ask a question about their business, just because I feel like my business it's so personal to ask about tax problems. I wouldn't know what kind of question to ask.
But you ask them about their business, which is the right question. In other words, you're engaging them in an opportunity to get to know you better by asking questions of them.
Yeah.
Which is right. No, you're right. I wouldn't want you asking me about my tax problems if I just met you and you weren't my attorney. So, and this is for everyone else, this is the same kind of thing. You don't want to dive in. Remember, this is not technically a sales presentation. This is a chance for Karen, for other people to get to know Karen, to like her, and maybe they don't need Karen, but maybe they know somebody who does. If she makes the right impression in that elevator pitch, she is broadening her circle in a very, very positive way. So we can't have people applaud you because this isn't live, but I thank you so much for coming on to share with us today.
Thanks, Ann.
Thanks so very much, Karen. Okay. So we're going to do a poll now, just for curiosity's sake, and that would be, who among you introduces your name first, like Karen does, and who of you are thinking about or in the habit of starting with an opening that's designed to stimulate interest? Okay, so the poll is open now. Thank you for filling this out. And as I said before, it's not wrong or right.
Here.
Great. I myself have gotten in the habit of doing something intriguing first and then introducing myself. But that doesn't mean that you need to do that. It's whatever works for you.
And we've got the results, and we have 58% saying introduce yourself by name, and then 42 stimulate interest and then introduce yourself.
Okay. So it's a little bit more slanted towards introducing your name, but we have quite a few of you that have found the other way effective, or you're thinking about it, and that's great. Thank you. Okay. Now, one of the things that happens at a networker, and I'm about to share some techniques with you to help you, is that you've done such a good job with your elevator pitch that you have all kinds of people glomming onto you, and you realize, oh my God, I really don't want to talk to these people. I have nothing in common with them. I really need to get away and meet somebody else. So I'm going to share with you some proven techniques to help you do that. The first one is a classic. Many of us have been doing this for a long time. And the idea is that you kind of say, excuse me, I need to excuse myself, and you find your way to the ladies' room or the men's room. And when you come back into the room, you don't go back to where you were exactly. It's not so nice, but it's been a practice that's been used for a long time. Now here's a variation of it. oh, excuse me, I'm expecting a phone call, I've enjoyed speaking with you, and you disappear. You may need to go out of the room and actually pretend to talk to somebody, but it is a way to get away from someone you don't want to talk to. Those of us who wear contacts like I do, this is similar to the technique number 1 with the bathroom, but it's another gracious way to get away from people. But there really is a kind and helpful way to get away where you're doing good. And that is, you're talking to somebody and you realize, oh my God, this isn't going anywhere. I have nothing in common with this person. So you kind of grab them by the elbow, not quite like the shark, but you move over to another group. Even if you don't know anybody in that group, you introduce yourself, you introduce the person that you're trying to get away with, and you make sure they're talking to somebody, and then you could kind of gracefully pull away and go find some other people to talk with. Now, I'm not saying you need to do this all the time, but these are strategies that I have found that really help in a networking situation, because you don't want to waste your time, do you? You've pushed yourself to get there, you're there, you've spent money and time, and you want to make sure you're getting the results you want. And spending time with people that are boring or that really have nothing to offer you isn't worth it. It's just not worth it. So, as I said, we really need to practice, and I'm going to go through how to answer questions in just a minute. But one of the coolest parts to me of networking is that when you make that connection with somebody, when you meet someone who really gets you, who seems to share the same attitudes and values, it's kind of magic, isn't it? It makes getting out of the house, getting out of the office all really worthwhile. And maybe that person is someone who could become an employee, maybe they're a potential client, maybe they're a donor, maybe there's someone you can recruit for your board, or maybe just somebody you want to go out to coffee with, or play golf, or become a new friend. I have a great opportunity for you to go much deeper into all of this with incredible results in a few minutes. However, before I do, I want you to know that two of my best tips are coming up right at the end of the webinar. These are the tips that will help you go furthest, the fastest, to reach your goals as a networker and as a leader. And so I encourage you to stay on the call. Okay, now for that big opportunity that I'm really excited to share with you. I'm launching a new 2-part online course that's all about you, and I've called it, What Kind of Leader Are You? In the first part of the course, I'm going to be sharing techniques with you to help you deal with those impossible people in your world, those really challenging folks that drive you crazy. You know who they are. And in the second part of the class, we're going to be looking at motivation. How do you get yourself excited? How do you get others to follow your lead, to follow your passion, to complete a project, to become part of the plan, to join you in your efforts to reach your goals? So the first part of the course, dealing with those challenging people in your world, I have a couple of questions, and see if you answer sometimes or always to these questions. Do you dread meetings and the drama they often bring with certain people? Do you find that putting together a new presentation for your team or organization or audience is more work than it ought to be? Do you sometimes click with certain people right away and you find other people you just can't connect with and you really don't know why? We're going to find out in this course what may be holding you back as a leader, and I'm going to share with you techniques that you can use to get the best shot at getting the best results with the 4 different kinds of personalities that you find in the workplace. And I have 3 bonuses for you in this course. The first one is you're going to get a 22-page report all about you in terms of how you communicate, how you come across. Are you a direct, an influencer, a steady, or a checklister? And why do you need this? Because you'll be able to identify who are you working with, who's in your nonprofit organization, and how can you really connect with them in a better way to get the results you need. How can you reduce the conflict? In part 2, we're going to be looking at the power of attitudes. And motivation is not just for people in sports or just for people in sales. Motivation is the difference between getting people aligned towards your goal or having them drift off in their own directions. We're going to look at how you can keep yourself on track and how you can get your team committed. And we're also going to help you understand the relationship that knowing personality styles or knowing motivators by themselves, it's not enough. You need the two to really accomplish what you're looking to do as a leader. The second bonus I promised you is you're going to get another personalized report all about your motivators. What are your passions? What drives you? And we're also going to look at what drives other people in your organization, because we make mistakes, don't we, when we assume everybody else is going to be passionate about just because we are. We create conflict. We reduce expectations. And there's no reason for this. There are techniques to help you get everybody on board and keep yourself fired up at the same time. The third bonus I promised you that going along with this are a set of very valuable handouts, step-by-step techniques that will help you identify and deal with these different kinds of people in a very positive way. And I encourage you to hang on, because I have my best tips just at the very end coming up, just a few minutes. The online course is in 2 parts, just 2 Tuesdays, an hour each, and I will have open mic at the end so you can ask me any questions you want about your report, or 2 Thursdays in December. And it is recorded, it is online, so that if you have to miss a session, there's no problem. These 2 personalized reports and the valuable handouts are included. I normally charge $250 for just the reports, and usually they're only available in my private coaching or my corporate programs. This is the first time I'm making them available this way to you. The course is just $197, including the 2 personalized reports. And this would make a great holiday gift for you at this time of the year. Invite a colleague, a family member to take the course with you. Give it to yourself as a gift, because I know you want to be an even more magnificent leader than you already are. The link is right there, speakoutinc.com/workshops. You can go right to our website and you'll see easily where to register. And now here are those final tips that I promised you. I mentioned earlier that I was a journalist, and as a journalist we were taught how to ask questions. And so we were taught to ask who, what, when, where, how, and why questions. And that guided the way we developed a story, which is really what you're doing as a networker and in your elevator pitch situations. So here are some what questions. What's your area of responsibility? That's a question, for example, that Karen, who called in earlier, might be asking. What did you think of the speaker? What made you come out today? These are questions that are designed to engage someone else in conversation. Some people are really good at this. Other people have no idea what to ask once somebody has done their elevator pitch. And it can be embarrassing and frustrating. If you think about dating, who did you find really attractive? You found the person attractive who asked you questions about yourself, right? Same thing. So who else do you know here in common? And how do you know them? What did you like the best about the program tonight? What did you think about the elections? Well, you may not want to ask that question. It depends where you are and what your politics are. When did you first become aware of this group? When did you move into the community? Where have you traveled lately? Where have you eaten out? Where have you gone clubbing that you really enjoyed? Why is this of interest to you? How do you think this is going to benefit your business? How much do you think about this? How much do you think it's going to cost? These are questions that give you the illusion, anyway, of being interested in the other person. And that's really critical. And here's my last tip, to remember that, I love this quote from Epictetus, nature gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we could listen more than we speak. One of the terrible things that happens in networkers is people do their elevator pitch and somebody does the elevator pitch, and then nobody's really listening to the other person. They're just talking. You don't want that to happen to you. And when you ask a question, make sure you take the time and shut off your mind just to listen to the answer. So you're not asking another question before you've processed what they've already asked you. It is more important to be interested than interesting. And even though you work really hard to make your elevator pitch interesting, if you don't also appear interested in the other person, you're likely to lose. So going forward, I encourage you to create at least one short version and one longer version of your elevator pitch, and you may have multiple elevator pitches. The point is you want to make sure you practice them all so that they sound natural. There is really nothing natural about any of this, like makeup and hair and clothes. None of it's natural. But you want it to feel natural and come across that way. I invite you to send a copy of your elevator pitch to me at ann@speakoutinc.com. We're going to be publishing the best on our Facebook page, and we will put your website in as well. And finally, I encourage you to register for our upcoming course, What Kind of Leader Are You? Again, it's going to start next Tuesday. It's only an hour. It's an investment in you. Who are you as a leader, and how can you be even better? And how can you identify and work better with the folks that are in your world so you have less stress and more results? We're offering the same course again on for 2 Thursdays in December. It is online. It's recorded. So I encourage you to come on board. Remember, you get the 2 personalized reports all about you and a whole set of valuable handouts that will help you become even more successful as a leader than you already are. The cost is just $197 until Sunday night, which is our deadline. Then the price of the course will go up to $397, and then it will include a strategy consultation as well. The website, again, is on the screen, speakoutinc.com. Workshops, events, and I do recommend you think about this as a holiday gift, a really special holiday gift for someone that you know who could benefit by becoming even more confident in themselves and how they interact with others. And now I understand we have some questions, and if you'd like to call in, please, as George said before, there's a little hand on the screen. Please raise your hand, and you're welcome to ask me a question about your elevator pitch or anything else we've talked about tonight. And I look forward to helping you any way I can.
And we do have a couple questions here. Before I get to those, I'd like to just point out that in the chat I've added the link to the site so that we can just click on it and you go right to it, so that might be convenient for people.
Thank you.
So hold on, we do have a hand raiser. Actually, Karen raised her hand again. Let me open up the mic for her.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Karen.
Hi, Ann. I wanted to ask you about the situation where you go to a networking event and you know absolutely nobody there, and you walk in and it seems like everybody's already in groups talking with each other. What do you do?
That's a really good question. And one of the things that I encourage you, it's scary a little bit, but if you've spent the time and money to get there, one of the things that I would do is I would recommend that you get close to the end of a group and just kind of hover near the side of it and listen to the conversation. And most people are pretty open unless they're 2 people huddled like this. So you want to look for a group of 3 or 4 or 5 people that's going to be a little bit more open. You sort of stand next to the group and hear what they're talking about, and then be brave, Karen. Basically, you hold your hand out to someone in that group. You say, "Hi, I'm Karen. This is my first time here, blah, blah, blah," and you start the conversation. You think you could do that?
Yeah, yeah. I have. I would. Yeah, that's a.
You know, you don't want to go right pouring into that group. You want to stand next to them just for a, 10, 15 seconds so they don't think you're totally brazen. They're kind of warming up to the fact that you're in their periphery, if you will. And then you just really extend your hand, which is a universal signal that you're open-handed and that you're open to meeting people. And how could they say no to you after that, right? They can't.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you. Good question.
Great. One person's asking about the slides. We will be sharing both a recording and the slide deck. Is it tomorrow afternoon, Ann, that we're going to make them available?
Yeah, our goal is, by technology permitting, to have everyone on the call receive a copy of the slides by tomorrow afternoon. That's what we're shooting for. And you are invited to share the link with anyone that you know that might benefit from this as well.
Great, great. Okay, so first question is, someone says, I've written an intriguing elevator speech while you were talking. It's clever, but when I read it out loud, it sounds unnatural. What do you recommend?
It's not unusual to have that experience. The same thing happens when you write a longer speech or presentation, because words that are written for the eye don't necessarily sound good coming out of your mouth. So what I want you to do is first pat yourself on the back because you did an elevator speech and it's hard work. The best advice I can give you is to look at those words that are unnatural sounding. And they're probably not words that you usually use in everyday conversation, and all of a sudden they're just popping in there. So I encourage you to replace those words that don't sound natural with words that sound better. You do want to be intriguing, so don't kill the enthusiasm, don't kill that creativity, but look for a way to make it a little easier for you to say it so it doesn't sound so stilted or stiff. Hope that helps. I'm sorry, George, I can't hear the question.
Sorry, when I was on mute. When is it okay to ask someone for a business card?
Oh, that's a good question too. You don't want to shove your business card in their face before you actually have, you want both parties to do the elevator pitch, and ideally you've asked a question and they've asked a question. It's a little bit of a dance. So after the elevator pitch dance is over, at least one round of it and one round of questions, you want to say, may I have your card, please? What I've started to do, by the way, since I am trying to build my own list, when I ask for people for a card, I ask permission right away. Is it all right if I add you to my email list? I'm doing a weekly blog and I'd love to have you on it. Most people will say yes, but it's understood in that environment that you're there to exchange cards. I just don't think it's the first thing you want to do when you walk in. You want to hand out the cards. You want to at least have established some rapport with someone. Good question. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one more. I'm going to read this
George, you're on mute, George. Sorry.
I'm going to read this last one. We're running short on time here. It says, I'm fine one-on-one, but when I have to stand up and introduce myself to a group, I freeze. How do I get over that?
Okay. Many people are fine one-on-one talking to people. And one of the biggest fears, as you may be aware, is public speaking. And when you're standing up in front of a group, sometimes our whole personality changes. We do freeze. There are a couple of anecdotes, and the best one is boring but necessary, and that's practice. And I recommend that you practice your elevator pitch the same way I recommend people practice a speech or presentation. Take it apart in pieces and practice it out of order. Practice the part where you introduce your position in your company and your company. Practice the part where you have your intriguing open. Practice your question. Practice them completely out of order at least 9 or 10 times until in the bathroom, when you're in the car, you're thinking about it, but you've got to say it out loud. It doesn't do any good to read it over or just think about it. You've got to say it out loud a few times and force yourself to do it. The more you do it, it is true, it's like exercise, the easier it gets, and then it does become more natural. So I believe we're out of time, George. Any more questions?
Let's do this last one that we got here. What if you ask a question and they answer it and then the conversation dies?
Oh, that's awful, isn't it? That's probably happened to all of you. You sit there, you ask a question, and they answer the question. If you think about, it's been many years since I was dating, but you would be at an event and you would be talking to somebody and it just stopped and you wanted to die. So I believe as an adult in a business environment, you have the obligation to keep asking questions. But if you are the only one asking the questions and they do not turn around and ask you anything, remember that getaway strategy that I talked about earlier? I believe it's perfectly okay for you at that point to gently grab a hold of the person that you finished talking with and say, come, let's go meet some other people, and take them with you and get away from them. Because this person is obviously one-sided and has no interest, or maybe so intimidated by you for some reason that you have no idea, or they just could be very self-centered. And there's no point for you to spend your valuable time and energy any longer than you have to. If you've done the best you can, then you can move that person to another group with you and then gracefully move yourself away and go find someone else that you're going to have a fabulous networking experience with. You just never know. It could be that next person after that one. And just give yourself the okay, the permission to get away, smile, be the lady, be the gentleman you are, and go meet someone else at that networker.
Okay, well, that's all the questions we have time for, Anne. So I guess our time's over.
I thank you all for coming to What's in Your Elevator Pitch, and I look forward to seeing you in our course, What Kind of Leader Are You? And a reminder that next month we're doing What's in Your Nonprofit Elevator Pitch, which will be a focus specifically for nonprofits. Meanwhile, I thank you again for coming to our webinar today.